It's the mother of all talk shows. It's the mother of all talk shows. It's the mother of all talk shows.
Go get 'em, George.
Belfast is burning, Britain is burning, as Keir Starmer's time as Prime Minister goes up in smoke. And Tehran is again burning, and Tel Aviv is burning, and Beirut is burning. Nabatea and Tyre, oldest places on the earth, are burning. Where will be burning next? Let's face it, the Americans are at war with the world. It's all coming up here on the Mother of All Talk Shows. Stay tuned. Keir Starmer's time as Britain's Prime Minister will be ended a week on Thursday, a week tomorrow at around 2 a.m. on the Friday morning, when his successor, Andy Burnham, is announced as the new Member of Parliament for Macclesfield. Certainly that's the outcome the bookmakers are predicting, and Burnham has already said he will immediately enjoin Keir Starmer in a leadership contest, which Starmer will lose overwhelmingly. The emblems of Keir Starmer's premiership are many, and they are all dismal failures. There's his surveillance of Britain's students, surveillance and arrest of Britain's pensioners, surveillance and arrest of veteran MPs like myself, and his crackdown on ancient freedoms, like the right to trial by jury, like the right to have an Englishman, Scotsman's home as their castle. Keir Starmer will be remembered, if he is remembered at all, as the man who was Prime Minister when Britain was burning again. I refer approximately to the issue in Belfast over the last 24 hours, which erupted in East Belfast, in Loyalist Belfast, in the burning out of immigrant families. In fact, I've got a list on my telephone of houses to be burned this night in East Belfast, all of them belonging to immigrant families. And the proximate reason for this upsurge in arson is, of course, the hideous, deranged act of madness or terrorism. I don't know which, but I'll come to it in just a minute, when a Sudanese man, an immigrant or an asylum seeker, I know not which, and there is a difference between these two statuses. I don't know why this man started to behead on camera a resident of East Belfast. It was one of the most horrific things I've seen since the blessed revolution in Syria, when it was a routine matter. And of course, the knives of the beheaders were supplied by us, by the British government. Beheading became a thing for younger viewers, a thing too horrific even to contemplate, never mind to show. It was on the streets of what is, for now at least, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, though blessed be the demographic changes which are rapidly turning the north of Ireland, the 6-county statelet, the last piece of Ireland, the last green field still held by the crown in the island of Ireland. Blessed be the demographic changes that are hurtling reunification forward and upwards on the political agenda. I don't know why this Sudanese man tried to cut the throat and behead on camera a resident of East Belfast. Was he insane? Certainly looked like it. Or was he a radicalized extremist? He certainly was employing the techniques of beheading of those people, sponsored by Britain, America, France, and other countries. The knives put in the hands of Al Qaeda and ISIS. It was that kind of crime. The problem is, if I don't know who this man was, what this man was, why he was in the north of Ireland, the British government may not know either, because Britain has tens of thousands of people in the borders of our state about whom we know absolutely nothing. How could we know anything about them? They could all be brain surgeons, or they could all be knife men and beheaders, or a mixture of both. How could we tell? Because the British government has long ago lost control of our borders. But they're damn sure they're going to defend the borders of the Ukraine, of Poland, of anywhere in the world except Britain. They're damn sure that the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army will be deployed in Cyprus, helping Israel in Gaza, helping Israel in the Lebanon, helping Israel vis-a-vis Iran. They've got soldiers, sailors, airmen in the Ukraine, special forces in the Ukraine. They're defending everybody but us. They're defending every border but ours. That's the legacy, not just of Keir Starmer, but of Rishi Sunak before him, of Theresa May, of Liz Truss, or whoever else there was in that glorious interregnum when David Cameron was forced to resign after the Brexit referendum result. A legacy of Gordon Brown, a legacy of Tony Blair, a legacy of mass immigration for profit. This is a key point. You knuckle draggers in East Belfast need to know these immigrants were brought to Britain for the profit of capitalists who wanted cheap labour, a reserve army of labour to undercut the British worker of all colours and creeds. And many of you supported it. At least many of you voted for MPs that supported it. The DUP, the WP, the triple UP. You were the pillar of the British governments I'm talking about who pursued this policy. But one thing we need to be clear on. Once someone is in our country, no power on earth must be allowed to burn them alive for something that they never done. What did that Indian family burned out in East Belfast last night have to do with what happened with the Sudanese and his scalpel? What do they have in common? Their colour? Are you going to murder people because they're the same colour as somebody who committed a crime? But then the people in East Belfast know very well that not so long ago, ironically, in Bombay Street in Belfast, on the borderline, people were burned alive. People were burned out, not because they were black or brown or Muslim. No, they were burned out because they were Roman Catholics. They were white people. They were fellow Christian people who just genuflected a different way. And they were burned out. They were burned alive. East Belfast has been the scene of many a horror, just as horrific as we saw involving this Sudanese. So, this list, I swear to you, I've got it on my phone. I literally have it on my phone. The houses that are going to be burned out tonight. Every one of them. 100 houses. Every one of them. The homes of so-called immigrant families. Of course, these knuckle draggers don't know an immigrant from an asylum seeker or from a white East Belfast man who happened to have a good suntan. Jamie, when they burned your house down last night and I saw your video, you were just the wrong colour, mate. You just been to Benidorm, or maybe that's your natural complexion, but they burned you out anyway, even though you were, as you said, one of their own. They don't know the difference between an immigrant, an asylum seeker, a white man with a suntan, and they don't care about the difference. They know that none of the houses they're going to burn down tonight, unless the police stop them, they know that none of those people has anything to do with the hideous crime they're supposedly protesting about. This is your legacy, Keir Starmer. This is the Britain that you have left. And just in case you think I'm picking on the north of Ireland, there were ugly scenes in my own city of Glasgow this very afternoon. People were stabbed, people were assaulted because of the colour of their skin in the centre of Glasgow in Scotland. Where is this going next? Where are these people headed next? Who are they targeting next? If you look like my family, will you be targeted? If you look like my friends, will you be targeted? If you look like my voters, will you be targeted? That's the Britain you have left us, Keir Starmer. Now the war, as I told you on the last show, has started again in Iran for reasons it's quite difficult to fathom, because only 2 days ago I was telling you that Donald Trump was looking forward to meeting the supreme leader of Iran, whom he had previously called the gay Ayatollah, and the smaller matter of murdering his father, his mother, his wife, and his children. Donald was looking forward to meeting him. Wouldn't have understood if the Ayatollah might not have wanted to meet him. 37 times Donald Trump has said that an end to the war in Iran was days away. Usually just before the opening of the stock market, just before the opening of the oil trading. 37 times. He even said it again today, sandwiched between blood-curdling threats. He said, it's all been negotiated. There's an agreement already been negotiated, and all it requires is the Iranian signature. But he's going back to war. He's going to hit them hard this time. What, did he hit them soft last time? In the 39-day war, was he bombing softly? In the 39-day war, was he murdering schoolgirls softly? Was he not hitting those schoolgirls hard last time when he was bombing the priceless archaeology of Isfahan? Was he doing it nicely last time? And now, this time, it's no more Mr. Nice Guy. How many schoolgirls are you planning to murder this time, Donald? And the proximate reason for that, an Apache helicopter over Iran, not over Fort Worth, Texas, over Iran, was shot down by the Iranians. Although they originally told us it had crashed. Not shot down, no. Then they told us it had been shot down. Then it was shot down by a drone. Then the drone never exploded. Then it was a miracle. The drone lodged between, don't you know, the two pilots and didn't explain, in which case it wasn't shot down, neither did it crash. In which case, why are you going back to war? This man is unhinged. He cannot tell the same story twice. Even in the same hour, he cannot get his story straight. And he told us today he has stolen millions and millions and millions, 3 millions, millions and millions and millions of barrels of Iranian oil with the lights out. 22 ships he stole. So he's either admitting he's a thief or that he's a liar. Of course, he could well be, and undoubtedly is, a thieving liar. But I'll be asking Professor Marandi in a minute if the US really did steal millions and millions and millions of barrels of Iranian oil. Tel Aviv was burning this week. So was many parts of the occupied territory of Palestine. This was as a result of Beirut burning. a Beirut, an Arab capital city that Donald Trump told us he'd ordered Netanyahu not to bomb. And then he bombed it. So what does that mean, Donald? Are you his cuckold? Does one word from you and he does what he likes? That's a strange relationship. When every penny he's spending, not just on wars, but on free healthcare, on free university tuition, comes from you. When every bomb, missile, bullet and gun that he has comes from you. But when you tell him to stop bombing Beirut, he just does it, even though that ineluctably drew Iran into another true promise kept, that if you bomb Beirut, we will bomb you. Gaza is burning. Every day I'm seeing things. I'm seeing things that are as bad, maybe worse, than what I was watching over the years post-October 7, the worst since the ceasefire that you negotiated, Donald Trump, you and your board of peace. And Ukraine is burning. Russia is burning because of the weapons that you are still shoveling in to the regime of the dictatorship of the thief of Kiev. $9 billion you just passed. You who told the American people that this war would never have started if you'd been the president, and you would bring it to a close within 24 hours. Of course, you now deny saying that. You now deny saying that you were against new wars, that you were going to be the peace president, not the war president. You'll storm out of any TV studio that reminds you of the literally hundreds of times that you said that in your campaign to fool the people of America all over again. And lastly, the biggest joke in the whole continent of Europe was presented amidst a collection of cheap, gaudy flags, the likes of which I have never seen outside the august. Have some class, Starmer. We don't do that. We don't wear our flag as a badge on our lapel. We don't desecrate 10 Downing Street with multicolored flags of the visitors. And who were the visitors? The 4 most hated men in Europe were on one doorstep at 10 Downing Street. Merz on 13% with a 77% active disapproval rate. Macron so discredited that he's leaving politics in just a few months' time. Starmer, 13% approval rating, and with scarcely a week left as the British Prime Minister, and there, licking his lips, minus his elevator heels for a change, looking like a Boy Scout who turned up for a Bob a Job week in 10 Downing Street, licking his lips as these 3 leaders promised him again tens, scores of billions of euros and pounds that his regime could steal. and weapons designed to pierce school buses, school dormitories, old-age pensioners, and children's breasts, and high-rise flats in which people in their sleep will be murdered by you, gang of cutthroats. It's the mother of all talk shows. Stay tuned. There's a legend on the line in Oklahoma. It's May on Trump. Welcome back, May.
Trump is using a magic 8-ball to make his decisions. He apparently has completely lost whatever mind he had to begin with. This is just ridiculous. Does he really think anyone's going to believe that? I'm here to say, and I'm here to join you and everybody else, the emperor has no clothes on. He's as naked as they come. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure he got naked with some young people. And that is why he so desperately is trying to kill this whole Epstein thing. And he's just making it worse.
I'm wondering when Donald Trump knew that he was implicated in these Epstein files and what it was that he knew. That's the big question, because he wouldn't have been banging the Epstein drum all this time and then suddenly to pull the rug. That tells me that it was a late decision, that someone came late to Trump to say, you know, you really don't want to be doing that.
You are listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway.
Will Trump invade Cuba next? That's the poll this evening. 20,000 people have already voted. Will Trump invade Cuba next? Yes or no? You can vote on my Telegram channel, t.me/George Galloway, on my X, on the YouTube community poll, on the YouTube stream. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you are one of the chosen ones supporting us on patreon.com/George Galloway, there's a ballot box there. Also, if you want to call the show, it's toll free in the US and Canada, +1 844 944 3344. It's free of charge in Britain and Ireland, 08081 965522, and the worldwide number 0044 203 966 2625. Well, the war in Iran has begun again. In truth, it never finished. It's now well over 100 days since a war that Donald Trump, in a sneak attack, chose to launch, and which he said would last only a matter of days. The man who's helped us through all of that time and multiple earlier crises in the Persian Gulf is, of course, Professor Seyed Mohammad Marandi, the Professor of English Literature and Orientalism at the University of Tehran. And he's always so good to join us, and he does again now. Professor, welcome back. I don't need to tell you how sorry we are that the killing has begun again, but then it never really stopped, did it?
No, George, and thank you very much for inviting me. It's always a great honor and a pleasure being with you on your show and your wonderful audience. No, the killing never stopped. It didn't even start with this war. It didn't start with the 12-day war last year. We're close to its anniversary. It started before I was born. The United States in 1953 carried out a coup in Iran, imposed the Shah, created the dreaded secret police Savak, gunned down people during the revolution with U.S. support. Jimmy Carter gave his full endorsement after Black Friday, where a huge number of people were killed in Tehran. And after the revolution, they supported Saddam Hussein, gave him chemical weapons. These Arab regimes that are assisting the United States today, they assisted them back then. It's been the story of my entire life, witnessing the crimes of the United States in our part of the world, in Lebanon, in Gaza, and the West Bank, and across Palestine and across the region, and of course across the world. But today the focus is on Iran, and the reason for the assault on Iran is one thing. It is because Iran opposes ethno-supremacism and genocide. That is unforgivable.
Well, of course, a lot of people have sold their soul to that cause. A lot of the Arab countries, when Iran is forced to retaliate and fire missiles at the settler state, a lot of Arab countries are doing their best to literally bring those missiles down to help protect the settler state, which has occupied their own countries, which has suppressed their own co-religionists and compatriots, fellow Arabs, in many cases fellow Levantine Arabs, the same people, the same blood. They have defended the killers and the usurpers of their own people. And of course, blood is more important than treasure, but let's start with the treasure. Trump claimed today that, and I'm quoting him directly, he had stolen millions and millions and millions of gallons, or barrels rather, of Iranian oil, and that he had been so tempted to tell us about it, but he couldn't, because that would tip Iran off to what he was doing. But now the Iranians have worked it out. He is able to tell us that he is a thief on a very grand scale. Although he could be lying, because he lies about so much. Which is it?
George, he is a serial liar, and he lies about everything. And he is a failure. He is a person who will die and be remembered ultimately as a person who carried out genocide in Gaza and facilitated another genocide and helped carry it out in Lebanon, who carried out unprovoked wars, slaughtered innocent people in the Caribbean, kidnapped presidents, strangled nations, empowered Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and continue to empower neo-Nazis. And of course, the worst of all is Zionism, empower the Zionists. So he has nothing, there's nothing that he'll be remembered for that is positive. The world will know him for what he is, a serial liar. And he has failed against Iran. He has failed in the 39-day war. He has failed in his siege. And that is why he is constantly provoking Iran. That is why he's constantly breaking the ceasefire and attacking Iran. And Iran, of course, retaliates because he's failed. And he's looking for a way out. He's looking for a victory that he will not attain. The only thing that will happen is that the global economic crisis will get worse. And the commodities that come from the Persian Gulf and through the Strait of Hormuz that have been absent from the market for almost 3.5 months now, they will continue to be absent. The shortage will grow. And if there is war and critical infrastructure is destroyed, then there will be nothing from the Arabian Peninsula that will go to the market in future months and years. And that, I think, is quite clear what will lead the world to. It will lead to a catastrophic global depression, economic depression, that will be worse than the 1930s because of the circumstances that we're living in today. We live in a very different world and a very fragile place with high-tech weapons and AI. And I think a global economic depression that would be worse than the 1920s will devastate the world in more ways than we can imagine.
Now, clear this up. An Apache helicopter, isn't it wonderful how they call their weapons of war after the indigenous peoples that they genocided out of existence? An Apache helicopter was, it crashed, first of all. Then it was shot down. Then it wasn't shot down. By some miracle, he called it. The drone, how a drone could lodge itself between two pilots and not explode. In which case, of course, the helicopter was never brought down, neither by a crash, nor was it shot down. But this is now the proximate reason for a resumption of savagery by the United States military. Was it shot down? Did it exist? Is it like the chimera in the desert where a pilot had to be rescued, except there was no pilot, he wasn't rescued? I mean, what is happening?
George, I don't think anyone in Iran clearly knows, at least not the people who I know. If the helicopter was, and this was an offensive weapon, with missiles and cannons and machine guns, if this helicopter was over the Strait of Hormuz, what was it doing there in the first place? And second of all, Iranians always take responsibility. They pride in announcing when they shoot down American jets or drones, or when they destroy American assets. This is aggression against Iran. The Iranians never took responsibility. They never denied responsibility, and I think the reason for that is obvious, because if Iran had denied responsibility, the Americans would have seen that as a sign of weakness. They would say, oh, they're afraid of us attacking them, so they're denying responsibility. So the Iranians remained indifferent. All they said is that if you attack us, we will strike back hard, and that's what they did. And since the ceasefire, it's always been the Americans who violate the ceasefire. It's always been the Americans who assault Iran, and then the Iranians respond. And of course, the war itself was a savage act of criminal behavior, where thousands of people were slaughtered for no reason whatsoever. And George, I mean, we live in a truly dystopian times. Iran's guilt, as I said earlier, is because it is supporting the Palestinian people. It's while Erdogan and Aliyev are transporting oil to their business partner in Tel Aviv, while Sisi is purchasing gas, while Jordan is doing business, while everyone else has secret relations or open relations with the regime, Iran is supporting the Palestinian people. And that's why it's guilty. That's why it must be destroyed. Why is it that Lebanon is being destroyed and demolished? Why is it that city after city is being flattened, and the Western media will try to justify it, call these Hezbollah strongholds, where all we're seeing is dead families, slaughtered families? Because Hezbollah ought to draw away forces from genocide in Gaza. When the Israeli regime had the intention of genocide, and anyone could see it just by reading the South African complaint to the ICJ, the regime's leaders were open about their genocidal intentions. So Hezbollah drew away half the Israeli army, or 50, 40%, I don't know the exact numbers, away from Gaza so they wouldn't be able to overrun it, to give the people of Gaza a chance. And they knew that the regime would seek revenge. They knew that their families would be targeted. Hezbollah and the resistance, their supporters, which include people from all religions in Lebanon and all sects, are the height of humanity. Yet the West tries to justify the genocidal acts against their families, against the community, their supporters. And then when the Israeli regime says that we're going to flatten Dahia, a place that you and I both know well. I lived in Dahia. When they say they're going to flatten, there's no outrage in the West. They're going to flatten London. They're going to flatten Moscow. They're going to flatten New York. There are perhaps 500,000, if not more, just refugees in Dahia. What they wanted to do was to wipe out the resistance and the supporters of the resistance, and no one in the West cared. The proxies in Beirut tried to help them corner the community supporting the resistance. The president and the prime minister are two tools of the empire. They prevented the refugees from going into different cities, into different neighborhoods. Refugees could not move around in their own country. They prevented Iran and Iraq from sending blankets and tents and food because they wanted to strangle the people. Western embassies, Western NGOs in Beirut were supporting this. Regimes in the Persian Gulf were telling their Al-Qaeda and ISIS and Wahhabi and Salafi Takfiris to corner the resistance. And then Iran saw there was nothing else that they could do but to intervene and to block this massacre. So Iran's guilt, George, is that it supports the Palestinian people and it opposes genocide, while everyone else either helps carry it out or is complicit in some way or another. And today, Iran's guilt is that it supports the people of Lebanon and those in Lebanon who support the Palestinian people. We are truly a guilty people, George. We are extremely guilty. We deserve all of this. And that's why Western media hates us so much.
Now, the latest from President Trump that I saw, this after a day of verbal diarrhea, of filth and threats, blood-curdling threats, was that there's an agreement already negotiated. All it needs is an Iranian signature. So, on the one hand, you are going to hit hard the Iranian people, but actually you've already negotiated an agreement with them, lacking only the Iranian signature. Is this another lie?
Of course, George. The two sides negotiated a deal. And we all know what the general terms of the agreement are. It's been weeks out there in the open. There are differences still, but the general issues that were discussed were the release of Iranian stolen assets, lifting sanctions for Iran's oil and energy exports during the time of this deal, ending the siege and ending the genocide in Gaza and Lebanon, ending the war on all fronts. That was agreed upon. And Iran would say that they will not pursue nuclear weapons as they've been doing for decades. And Iran would allow the flow of ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz like in numbers that were similar to before the war, something that Iran would benefit from. But Trump, since then, has repeatedly walked away from the deal. We saw him in public say more than once, I'm not going to give their assets. I'm not going to remove the sanctions. His negotiators wrote this. His negotiators wrote these things. They're on paper. And it's a good thing that Iran doesn't negotiate directly and everything is written, because history will remember the deceit of the United States. And then he says, I will not lift the siege. Then if you're not going to do these things, then why do you send your negotiators and agree? So he is completely dishonest and deceitful. And he's under pressure from the Zionists and the Israeli regime, obviously. Now, why is that the case? Is it because what they have on him in the Epstein files? Is it because of the donors? Is it a combination of all things? I think it's everything, really. But the fact is that he's the one who does not have the ability. He's a weak person, George. He's a terribly weak person. He does not have the ability to sign this deal. And now he thinks that what he could not achieve in war, a war where he miscalculated extraordinarily. He thinks that he's going to be able to threaten Iran and corner Iran at the negotiating table and get the concessions there. It's not going to happen.
So what happens next, Professor? What are you expecting?
We're prepared for war, George. The country is on full alert. Iran is not going to bow down. Iran is not going to give new concessions. If Trump attacks Iran's critical infrastructure, then Iran will destroy the critical infrastructure of the Israeli regime and these Arab regimes in the Persian Gulf. And it's very hot in the Arabian Peninsula right now. If Iran destroys that infrastructure, people will have to leave those countries immediately. These countries will fall apart. And then a global depression is assured. So we don't know what this madman is going to do, this psychopath is going to do, but we're not afraid. We stood up against them during the 12-day war and defeated them. We stood up against them and defeated them in the 39 Days War, when all of these regimes in the region were assisting the United States, when the Republic of Azerbaijan was assisting Israel, when Turkey was allowing intelligence gathering from their territory and allowing the United States to assist the Israelis offensively and defensively through their territory. Everyone was a part of this. Literally everyone. They were on the other side, and Iran defeated the United States. The Iranians are not fearful. We don't want war. I don't want to see kids killed. I don't want them to slaughter another 168 little kids. None of us do. But we're not going to give up our sovereignty, and we're not going to give up our support for the Palestinian people. We're not going to forsake the children of Palestine. You know the quote, well, I've used it often in my tweets. General Soleimani, before he was martyred by the most evil of evil people, he said that we are the nation of Imam Hussein. We are the nation of martyrdom. We are the nation of Imam Hussein. The Iranian people, ideologically, as a civilization, based on their religion, based on their worldview, they will not forsake the oppressed and side with the oppressor. They will not be indifferent to the oppressor, and they will remain steadfast to preserve their dignity and sovereignty. The United States cannot win this war. It's not possible for them. They can bring about great destruction, which is something that I do not desire to see, but they will be defeated. And the destruction will also be wrought upon the entire West, because when the global economy collapses, they have the most to lose, George. People will starve across the world, but these Western regimes, these Western economies, they are extremely vulnerable. And when they come crashing down, it will be very painful. I don't wish to see harm upon anyone, even children of the Zionists. I do not wish to see any of them get killed in war. I'd like to see everyone to see the light and to end ethno-supremacism and to end genocide and ethnic cleansing. But if we have to fight, we will fight. And we will definitely persevere. Everyone was stunned at Iran's victory in the 39-day war. They were stunned by Iran's victory in the 12-day war, even more stunned in the 39-day war. And this time around, I have no doubt that Trump will be defeated if he so chooses to launch another war. But we don't know, because this is a
Well, I was just about to thank you for another tour de force, Professor, but your internet froze. But I will thank you, and I hope you catch up with the show later. Professor Seyed Mohammad Marandi, Professor of English Literature and Orientalism at the University of Tehran. Let's take a quick break, then it's your calls right up to the hour. Stay tuned. It was set up in 1949. People an amazing number of people imagine that it was set up in opposition to the former Warsaw Pact formed by the Soviet Union and the socialist countries. But in fact, NATO predated by some years the creation of the Warsaw Pact, which was in fact an answer to the West creating NATO. Now, I've spent, well, literally my whole life, since I was 13 years old, I've been demanding Britain out of NATO, and now NATO is disintegrating in front of our eyes. I don't know when they agreed the permanent membership and the veto system, but the UN is clearly now unfit for purpose. And I have long believed and proselytized for the BRICS and the SCO and the New World Order to establish their own United Nations, because it seems to me that the current UN in New York is, well, completely useless, has hegemony over it, can even decide which member states are to be allowed a visa to come and speak at the United Nations. It's preposterous. I remember I was with Chavez in New York when the US refused to give visas to his bodyguards. But such was Chavez's charisma that he took to the streets of New York without any bodyguards and was hailed everywhere he turned. Such was the magnificence of Hugo Chavez. He walked around the streets of New York to a hero's welcome without bodyguards because the US refused to allow his bodyguards a visa.
You are listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway.
Let's go straight to California. Who wouldn't? Where Josh is seeking to talk about Trump's speech today. Which one, Josh? He's made multiple, entirely contradictory speeches today. Tell us.
Yeah, he was giving a press conference. I think he signed the SAFE Act, and during the conference, they were asking him questions about the drone that struck the Apache, and he said that the bomb in the drone didn't go off. And instantaneously, I was like, you dork! They sent a dud. Like the Iranians. I was listening to a stream yesterday on TikTok by a streamer, I believe her name is Taz Nemo, but she facilitates this conversation, and there was a military expert on there talking about how safe these Apache helicopters are because of the gyroscopic technology that prevents them from crashing in so many circumstances. The Iranians must have known this, so they sent a dud, and it takes down an Apache, and here they are right there. They've just lost their chief, and Trump is standing there, with nothing to say but we have the bomb. It's so embarrassing to see such a disproportionate escalation for what seems to me to be a largely symbolic gesture, and whoever the person is that advised him that it wasn't intentionally a dud should probably be fired post haste. And it reminds me. Tell me
something, Josh. Tell me something. Did nobody ask? Well, if the bomb didn't explode, then the helicopter didn't crash. Neither was it shot down. In which case, what are you seeking revenge for? Was it brought down or wasn't it?
I mean, I have no doubt. Obviously, if your Apache helicopter gets a drone lodged in part of it, you're not flying around anymore, and you may not land softly. Now, Trump had said that if any U.S. soldiers were killed, it was going to be back to fighting. But unless he's speaking cryptically, and when he says they weren't injured and they're okay, that it somehow means that they were worse than injured and in heaven. I don't. It seems like Like I think he's acting on bad advice, and I have to wonder who this person is giving him this advice, because it's certainly not me.
Nor me. Thanks for that, Josh, in California, on Donald Trump's speech today, or one of his speeches today. One of the key problems with Trump is he never stops talking, and he can no longer remember what he said 5 minutes ago. You can leave comments, by the way, on YouTube. Scan the QR code now. Leave a comment. I'll try and read it out. Like this one. I only emerge after dark. Says, I love Belfast and I lived there for 2 years as a student at Queen's University. The culprit violated the safety of Belfast. F him. Which culprit are we talking about? The Sudanese madman or terrorist? I don't know which. Or the people who burned out innocent families because of the color of their skin? Why don't you get back to me? In fact, even better, why don't you call the show I Only Emerge After Dark? It's getting dark, isn't it? Come and have a go. If you've got the guts, if you think you're hard enough, you know the number. Call me. I see you want to see me. The Sudanese attacker struck in North Belfast. The rioting happened in East Belfast. Clearly racists looking for an excuse. And Paul Metz Cohen says the people carrying out this arson are racist thugs. And Johnny 40 Coates 4 says Belfast is not in Britain. It is currently occupation and accepted as part of the UK, not Britain, with the border polls pending. A point I kind of made myself, Johnny. Nick Donovan 5274 sends $100 US. Nick, God bless you, my friend. Nick Donovan 5274. We have a donation of $100. A gift from my late parents, who both passed in recent months. Their Catholic faith guided them to fight injustice and serve those in need. Working class heroes, as you and your audience are. May God rest them, Nick, and thank you kindly for that donation. Farhad is in Manchester on the Iran war. Farhad, go ahead.
Hello, George. I would like to say first, God bless Nick's parents, that he made you happy with this donation. Amen too. And I think we should talk, all good people should talk, as bad people who are talking. I mean, for example, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. And first of all, I wanted to say that you and Professor Marandi look absolutely amazing today. I enjoyed your conversation with him. And I wanted to say something. I recently saw one report from New York Times. They were saying about use of a dangerous short-range ballistic missile on the very first day of war on Iran. And they mentioned that this short-range ballistic missile has the range of below 600 kilometers. Well, I think that time their aircraft carriers and everything was far than 600 kilometers. And my assumption is that ballistic missiles were started to shooting from somewhere neighboring countries. So what happened? I want to tell you briefly this story. That they shot 4 of them. These ballistic missiles have this technology to blow up between 15 to 20 meters upper than the ground, so they do not hit the ground. And what happens is over 180,000 rubber bullets and everything from small to big pieces of that bomb will spread all around the ground and damage everything and everybody. Well, there was no internet on that time. I couldn't see anything relating to that. But recently, when we have internet in Iran, I saw a reporter went to that town. So the town called Lamerd, it's south of Shiraz, and this happened 5 p.m. on the same first day of the war happened. And I think everybody forgot to talk about it as has to, because of the another very bad incident that we all know, the Minab, what happened there. And he was saying that, and he was saying that it has that town, the Lamerd town, has a very little hospital, and the reports and the videos that was coming up, all the beds were full of blood of people, everybody between death.
I'm sure. Listen, Farhad, I appreciate you bringing us up to date on yet another of the atrocities. We haven't even begun to analyze what happened in the last 110 days, at least not in the West, but the day will come when we will hold to account the criminals who carried out these atrocities. But we are reaching the hour, and I have quickly to thank some of tonight's top Moats supporters who've been backing the program through moats.tv. That's our website, moats.tv. And I want to thank Randall Joseph, Owen Bulmer, William Johnson, Ryan Hamzawi, and Dana Terry. A big thanks to every one of you and every one of you who is going to give before the end of the evening. You just have to visit moats.tv, press donate now, and leave whatever you can, even if it's £1, €1, or $1. So let me take a quick break, because we're going to switch gear, although actually the switch is not that extreme. We're going to be talking about the worst World Cup in history, which hasn't even kicked off yet, with some experts and some great calls. So stay tuned. Let me say that you can listen to the audio-only version of Moats on our Moats podcast, and the numbers on that are going through the roof. Just search Moats with George Galloway on Apple, Spotify, Google, or whichever platform you listen to your podcasts on. In recent weeks, it's been the #1 political podcast in Benin, Jordan, the Gambia, Qatar, Jamaica, Ghana, Iceland, Malaysia, Singapore, Sweden, and the Philippines. #1 political podcast in all those countries. Truly, truly phenomenal. Do you know that BBC News has lost 40% of its audience in the last 2 years? It's official. And of course, that is the sensible thing to do. But to get people to tune in and change course and listen to a radically different point of view is even more difficult. But it's happening. And the numbers that we are racking up are now in their millions.
You are listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway.
The die was cast whenever the United States was given the right to host the 2026 World Cup, following on the heels of the best one, in fact, the best 2 World Cups that there have ever been. The one in Qatar last time was the best one, and the second best one, the one in Russia, which was, and both of them were, traduced by propagandists of all kind. They never got a minute's peace. The propaganda hawks were seeking to pick at these 2 great World Cups right from the very beginning. But as soon as the United States got it, well, all these considerations of human rights and all the rest went by the by. And the die was further cast when Infantino, the imbecile who runs FIFA, invented and presented the FIFA World Peace Prize to the orange monkey Donald Trump in a ceremony which will reek of farce forever. But it's gotten worse, much, much worse. To talk about just how bad it's got, we have a football journalist and expert and good friend of the show, Nima Tavallaey Roodsari, who is a football pundit extraordinaire. If you're not following him on Twitter and elsewhere on social media, you will be by the end of this interview. Nima, welcome back to the mother of all talk shows. I was going to adumbrate all the crimes that have been committed in the World Cup so far, which hasn't even kicked off, but I'll allow you to do it instead. Tell us, how's the show going so far?
Well, where do we begin? Well, first of all, it's good to be with you, George. Let's start with the idea of this expanded World Cup. FIFA there started by saying that it was designed to promote global inclusion, giving more countries from every continent the opportunity to compete in football's grandest stage. That was the official explanation. It's centered on opportunity. More countries would experience football's the biggest stage in football. More regions would feel represented. More supporters would be included. Critics saw something else entirely. They saw the world's most valuable football property being expanded because there was more money to be made from it. And also because England, Italy, and the Netherlands have recently all missed the World Cup. And the reason for expansion was to kind of ensure that no big countries would miss it, as well as the smaller countries that would never reach it being there. So it was purely a financial decision. The bigger the country, the bigger the player, and so no big players would miss the tournament. But the official reason was to grow the game, which is hilarious given the ridiculousness of what we've seen in recent days regarding, for example, the Somali referee Omar Artan, who had secured a multiple 3-month US entry visa and received a diplomatic passport facilitated by the Somali embassy in Nairobi in Kenya. But upon arrival at Miami International Airport, the US Customs and Border Protection, the CBP, denied him entry, immediately placing him on a return flight to Istanbul. This is one of Africa's best referees. Or, Iraq star Ayman Hussein, who was detained and questioned for up to 7 hours at O'Hare Airport in Chicago before being let in. He was detained with the official photographer of the Iraq team, Mr. Salah, who was detained and questioned for 10 hours. All of his electronic devices checked, and he was investigated by Customs and Border Protection. Not to mention Fabio Cannavaro, the Uzbekistan coach, the Ballon d'Or winner, captain of the Italy World Cup winning side in 2006, who upon arrival to a stadium together with Uzbekistan to play a friendly with the Netherlands, had dogs sticking up their noses up his backside, sniffing him like he's some sort of drug mule. These are just a couple of examples, and I haven't even got to the tickets and Iran, which has been the biggest talking point.
Yeah, I mean, the sniffer dogs might have been more usefully employed on the Netherlands team. From you get high walking down the street in Amsterdam, past these so-called coffee shops. But Cannavaro is one of the giants of the game, and he was cavity searched as the manager of Uzbekistan. Has this made any impact in Italy?
Well, I mean, Cannavaro's not been too happy about it. He was quoted as saying that they were told that everyone had to do it, but it was only for them. And this is, the wider point, of course, is that, all of these things that have happened at the World Cup so far, the Senegal team being treated like they were at the tarmac, and other teams as well, the 15 members of the Iranian delegation who were not allowed in, all of these are making global headlines. It's gotten so bad now, actually, that some of the usual hacks that haven't said a word, they've started noticing and are commenting on it now as well.
Well, the only footballer I've seen condemn what's happening is Ian Wright, the England and Arsenal great. He had some very powerful words, but the football world is rather quiet. The German team, for example, who were never done pirouetting in their rainbow paraphernalia in Qatar to highlight the supposed weaknesses of the Qataris towards gay pride. They haven't said a dicky bird.
No, they haven't. We haven't heard anything from the usual suspects. I mean, Norway, who threatened to boycott the last World Cup, but they obviously didn't qualify for it. They've qualified for this World Cup, and we haven't heard anything from them on this one. The same can be said about pretty much every team that has qualified from the traditional NATO and Western countries. It's very typical. It's very par for the course, isn't it? That there are certain human rights that matter more. It's very much akin to that beautiful thing they've got going about the thing they got going about the rules-based order. It's all very much what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. But that's par for the course. But and I don't want to go into that. I think you covered most of that with Professor Marandi already.
Yeah, let's turn then to Iran, because the treatment of Iran is especially egregious, clearly in breach of the rules of FIFA, whose tournament this is, I remind everybody. This is not America's tournament. America is given the rights to host the FIFA World Cup, which belongs to FIFA. Now, when the Iranians were first drawn against the Egyptians, we were told that this particular game, Iran versus Egypt, was going to be the gay pride game. And everyone would have to wear a rainbow armband, the corner flags would be rainbow, the shoelaces rainbow. And of course, Iran and Egypt said they would not be participating in that for obvious reasons. But it's gotten much, much darker. Now the Iranians, although playing in the United States, are not being allowed to stay in the United States. They must arrive before their game from Mexico and return to Mexico immediately after the game. How can this possibly be legal?
Well, I'm going to start with what happened from the beginning. So when the war broke out, or the attack, the act of perfidy, as Scott Ritter correctly describes it, the attack on Iran, when it started, the sports minister, Ahmad Donyamali, stated that Iran shouldn't play in the USA. It's not appropriate for Iran to play in the USA come the World Cup. The Iran FA responded that if the government asked them, they would comply. However, if Iran had pulled out, FIFA would be able to punish them and fine them, and also they could suspend Iran, because they have one of the core tenets of FIFA is that the FAs have to be independent from the governments. So the Iranian FA asked FIFA to be able to play in Mexico, and this was confirmed at the time by Claudia Sheinbaum, the Mexican president, who added that Iran would be more than welcome. FIFA declined, citing that it would be too big of a disruption logistically and there wasn't enough time. Now, fast forward to April and the FIFA Congress, when the Iranian FA president, Mehdi Taj, and the entire delegation had an altercation with the Canadian immigration when they visited the Vancouver, the annual Congress, the FIFA annual Congress in Vancouver, which, at the behest of the Trump administration, treated them really, really poorly. They got angry. There was an altercation. There was a confrontation. They left. FIFA apologized. They refused to enter. They flew back to Turkey. FIFA said they would charter a flight to bring them back. They refused because they were so insulted and angry, and they issued a list of 10 demands that in order for them to participate in the World Cup. And these included that the Iran national anthem be played so it could be heard, that the Iranian flag should be the only Iranian flag allowed at the stadium, that the security around the players and the staff be guaranteed, and many other other requirements. Now, none of these things have been any problem at any World Cup previously when Iran has played. I mean, this was not a problem in France 98, in Germany 2006, in Brazil 2014, in Russia 2018, in Qatar 2022. These three demands I listed are particularly important given what happened in the Women's Asian Cup during the war when it began. Where these so-called Iranian monarchists, or as I call them, the cuck prince cultists of LA, rammed the bus of the women's team, harassed them in hotel lobbies, not to mention when Trump himself threatened the men's team on Truth Social and then walked it back. So security has been particularly important to the Iran delegation. Now, this then led to a meeting with FIFA where Iran was given these guarantees by FIFA. And then this led to the announcement that Iran would move their training camp from Tucson, Arizona to Tijuana, Mexico. And then, of course, the U.S. Foreign Secretary Marco Rubio, the little Miami midget, said that the USA does not want Iran in the United States. I mean, whichever is true, who did what first, Iran is in Tijuana and were given a very warm welcome upon arrival. Now, the matches will be played in the United States, and FIFA protocol dictate that 24 hours before the match starts, the teams have to be there to inspect the stadium, to train on the ground, to do the traditional press conference. And the Iranian FA confirmed a couple of days ago that they will spend one night before each of the two matches in Los Angeles and 2 nights before each of the matches in Seattle, where they play Egypt in this ridiculous pride game that you explained. However, given what we've seen, how teams, referees, staff, etc., with visas, who have visas and have been granted visas, no one can say with any certainty that the players and staff who've been given visas will be let in. And again, lest we forget the 15 members of the Iranian delegation, including the president, security detail, head of security, match analysts, media team, etc., who have not been granted visas, which also, as you alluded to, it puts Iran at a disadvantage compared to other teams who have not had these issues. And Iran has complained loudly. The national team coach has spoken about how the preparation has been horrible for them, that they needed 2 weeks before the game at least to prepare for everything, but they were only given visas less than a week ago. It's a complete and utter mess.
And of course, the Iranian fans have had their tickets withdrawn, at least according to a report I read today. So there won't be any Iranian fans in the stadium to wave the official flags.
Well, that's what happened is that they decided, the Iranian FA announced that the allocation the tickets that were allocated to the Iranian FA to sell to the Iranian fans have been cancelled, which leaves Iranian fans who have bought tickets to the United States, paid for hotels, paid for travel. Their money is now gone and they don't know how to get it. And FIFA has just put these tickets out for general sale. But the broader point here, George, is the politicization of football. You and I are old enough to remember when we were told that football and politics should never mix. But of course, who has done the politicizing? FIFA has politicized this. They politicized football when Russia and Belarus were banned after the special military operation began. They also politicized it when they took away the Under-20 Youth World Cup from Indonesia in 2023 due to Indonesia opposing Israel's participation following the onslaught, the Holocaust and genocide in Gaza. Then, fast forward to April of this year, to that FIFA Congress I alluded to, where FIFA refused to ban Israel after a petition by the Palestinian FA to ban them for hosting matches in the West Bank in the occupied territories, which is a violation of FIFA's own statutes, I might add. And FIFA responded by inventing international law. They literally came out with a statement saying the West Bank was historically, quote, historically disputed lands. It absolutely is not. It is an established matter of international law that the West Bank is Palestinian land occupied by Israel, which is also, I might add, the official stance of the US government. Now, back in 2017, during the first Trump administration, Gianni Infantino, after Trump had imposed his first travel ban, Gianni Infantino, the president of FIFA, said that teams addressing that specific travel ban, said teams who qualify for a World Cup need to have access to the country, otherwise there is no World Cup. That's obvious. We're now in the process of defining the bid requirements. In the world, there are many countries who have bans, travel bans, visa requirements, and so on. It's obvious when it comes to FIFA competitions, any team, including the supporters and officials of that team who qualify for a World Cup, need to have access to the country. Otherwise, there is no World Cup. The requirements will be clear, and then each country can make up the decision whether or not to bid based on those requirements. Also, in 2025, he added, everyone will be welcome in Canada, Mexico, and the United States for the World Cup next year. There's a process to go through to get visas and so on. This process will be smooth. Well, he lied because he's a pathological liar. And now he tries to hide behind Trump. Every country decides who enters their territory. That's not up for debate. But hosting the World Cup is a privilege, not a right. It means there are requirements to hosting the World Cup. And if a country fails in meeting those requirements, you're not fit to host that World Cup. The US cannot and has not lived to its obligation as a host, and it was evident it wasn't going to, and therefore it should have been stripped of those rights. But of course, Gianni Infantino, who not only invented that peace prize to massage Donald Trump's ego, but was also standing during the Board of Peace meeting like a grinning, bloodthirsty hyena, trying to carve up Gaza with the rest of the vultures present after the US and its lap attack dog, Israel, had murdered around 5-10% of the population, as per the Lancet. As we know, and of course, as we know, half the population are children under the age of 18, which is the legal definition of children. Now, why has he done all of these things? Because Infantino is down on both hands and knees, lining his and FIFA's pockets with golden shekels, and now he tries to hide behind Trump. Well, that's a spot that will not wipe out. This disaster is his making. FIFA are the organizers. He's the president of FIFA. The buck stops with him. Infantino has turned FIFA to the PR wing of the Epstein class, and in so doing, he has turned the World Cup to the 2026 FIFA Epstein Cup. That's what this is. It will always be known as the FIFA Epstein Cup.
Couldn't put it better myself. Nima, thanks very much for joining us. I hope you'll come back before the trophy is lifted by whomsoever. We all have our favourites. Scotland probably might be in the mix towards the end. I don't know. But we'll be talking to John H. Stracey later, who has recorded an England song. So stay tuned for that. Nima Tavallaey Roodsari, the football genius, and a great talker too, as you have just discovered. Let me take a quick break, then it's your calls right up to the break. Stay tuned. The legend Donna in Panama. Oh, Donna, we miss you.
Well, I miss you all too, and I wonder, is there anything that we might do that might help?
It's a beautiful thought, Donna, and characteristic of you to think of it. But my estimation is that I will be in what is self-imposed exile until after Starmer is gone. This was a political operation. The police were misused, as is now happening everywhere. My deputy leader of the Workers' Party of Britain, distinguished parliamentarian Chris Williamson, has been hunted out of his studio for his television program, Palestine Declassified. It's clear that a state and police operation is in preparation against him and that show. They want to close it down. And I cannot risk this show being closed down. He's risking it because he's broadcasting from England, from a studio in England. I am not. And ancient hatred of Russia is what lies beneath Starmer's hatred of the mother of all talk shows. So until the political situation changes, we will continue to live in exile. It's no hardship, to be honest. Where we are living is far, I'm sorry to say, far more prosperous than our own country is, and the weather is a lot better too. So I'm not asking for anyone's sympathy, but I'm not going to place myself in an arrestable situation again. I think you know, Donna, the toll it took on my health to be confronted by armed police officers and be told I was being held under the Terrorism Act. Me, under the Terrorism Act.
You are listening to the mother of all talk shows with George Galloway.
Let's go to Paul in North Dakota on the attack in Ireland. Paul, welcome.
Hi, George. I'll tell you that my first name is Palmer. That's Palmer. I appreciate you taking the call, and I really appreciate your standing up and speaking the truth in many situations. I have a difference with you, George. It's regarding the events in Ireland. Now, you have been an adamant supporter of I'll call it the wholesale invasion of England by Mohammedans and others. And it doesn't work, George. And I'll use this analogy is not perfect, but if you have a zoo, and I'm not in support of zoos, you don't take hyenas and mix them with impalas. You don't take snakes and mix them with rabbits. You're just asking for troubles. Now, if you bring in individuals from different backgrounds...
they're all... let me stop your fascist rant right there, dead in its tracks. Hyenas and impalas are different species. Humans are all one species. There's no genetic difference between one nationality and another. Our blood is equally red. Our lives and deaths begin and end in exactly the same way. And more or less, given a natural lifespan, at exactly the same time. Do not compare people of another nationality to a hyena. Because I'll remind you, Mr. North Dakota, you're only in North Dakota because you arrived as a settler and massacred the original people of North Dakota. You racist think. Then your society was built on millions of black African slaves that were stolen from Africa and taken in chains across the ocean and put to work as beasts of burden in the fields of the settlers in North America. You and people like you, your forefathers, genocided more than 100 million original inhabitants of the American continent, from the north of Canada to the cone of South America. Maybe 180 millions were genocided by you. So don't come on my show with your racist filth. As it happens, I have never been a big supporter of the invasion of my country by Mohammedans and others, not least because there ain't no such thing as a Mohammedan. Muslims have existed in Britain for a very long time. The great influx of them is a direct result of our invasion and occupation and rape of their countries that we stole and exploited to the tune of trillions of pounds. No immigrant decided of their own volition to leave their own country and come to ours because they wanted to be poor, that they wanted to make poor the country to which they came. I'll give you a good example. Happens to be a white man, a Roman Catholic, me. My grandparents came to Britain from Ireland, not to make Britain poorer, not to make themselves poorer, not to live on benefits. For benefits, there were none. They came from Ireland to Scotland so that they could work from 6 in the morning till 6 at night for 10 shillings and 9pence in a hellhole called a jute mill, where the clatter soon made them deaf. The people who are in our country have come here to make a better life for themselves and their families, a bit like how your forefathers did in North Dakota. Now piss off. You're not welcome, and I don't want you listening to this show any longer. Consider yourself banned. Now another big shout out to more of tonight's top Moats supporters: Hugo Vieira, Patricia Williams, Gerald O'Keefe, James Glass, and Reinhold Storm. Your backing, I must tell you, through moats.tv is greatly appreciated and helps keep this show independent and on air. Just go to moats.tv and press the donate button. Give whatever you can. Why don't you? Doug is in West Virginia. Wants to talk about Donald Trump. On you go, Doug.
Well, so many things. To try to keep it brief. Originally, 2016, I liked what he said, and then okay, but then in the last election, somehow I was thinking, what could be worse? But honestly, if Kamala had been elected, what would be the difference? You know, you vote for Tweedledum or Tweedledee, you get the
rainbows
same thing.
on the bombs. The bombs would be rainbow colored, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, and you know, Europe. Wow, my heritage is 100% European. Father's side is German, Swedish. My mother is Scots Irish, and I guess at one point. But now I would be horrified of visiting, say, Britain. Now the last caller, you know, guess we're all humans, but I think it's a cultural problem. You bring individuals into the country that do not want to assimilate. They have no reason to be a part of the community. They bring their own thing, and then this horrible thing. It's just, I don't know. It's just, and
didn't you do that in West Virginia, Doug?
No.
Didn't you do that?
And I guess in
Didn't you do that in West Virginia? Are there no polls in West Virginia?
Well, yes, we vote.
No. I mean Polish people. I mean Italian Americans. I mean Polish Americans.
Yeah.
I mean Irish Americans. I mean German Americans. I mean Americans from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Cuba. There are all kinds of cultures in America, aren't there? That's one of the good things about it.
Yes, there is actually I do. When you said that, there is a Polish man that lives, lives here. But
well, I'm well aware of Virginia, especially West Virginia, and I know the fine people who came from so many countries. What language do you think they speak at home, Doug?
You mean here now? Well, they speak English, but the ones. Oh my God!
I mean that Italian Americans, Hispanic Americans, they speak Spanish and Italian at home. I know that.
Yeah.
Polish Americans speak Polish at home. They eat Polish sausage They've got their own polkas. They have their own culture. Get out of here. You know nothing about Britain at all. Crowhawk 66 says the Yanks were miffed that they didn't get the World Cup in 2018 and 22, so they attacked FIFA with corruption allegations and had Blatter replaced by Infantino. And Dan Bauer 3669 says FIFA is corrupt. They are a non-profit organization, don't you know? Tim Gadd says this is ridiculous. Boycott the World Cup. And Brad Nelson 6669 says you know why they don't care how bad this World Cup is, because it's not an American sport. User YP7, George, would you still call it the worst World Cup if Scotland win it? If my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle. Terence, the legend, is on the line in Reading about Belfast. On you go, Tel.
Good evening, Mr. Galloway. It's nice to hear you in a brilliantly combative mood. Coming to two words, really. First one is immigrant. And we Irish are all over the world. We've assimilated everywhere we went. Somebody jump on this bandwagon of the Sudanese murder or whatever he is, the man that attacked another man with a knife. For somebody to say the colour of his skin determines what he's like is absolute nonsense. The Irish are the most open, one of the most open races of all, I think, if there is a race other than the human race. And don't forget...
we've had to be, of course. We've had to be, Terence, because 30 millions of us are immigrants.
Exactly. And the Choctaw Americans sent us food. The turn of the 20th century in Middleton in Cork, there's a big monument to the Choctaw Indians who knew that the Irish immigrants had to get out of Ireland because genocide was going on even then. So that's the first point. And Belfast in particular, which I know as a younger man and other things, has become very peaceful until now, and this is all part, as far as I'm concerned, of the Five Lies and the Mossad mob trying to stir up trouble. Sinn Féin are coming. United Ireland is coming, and Ireland will never be a racist society. It'll be divisive, and the division will come from the 1% Zionist mob. The second point I want to bring to your attention this moment, Mr. Galloway, is the pair of balls. Yvette Cooper, their name is, and Ed Balls. They are a pair of balls. And Yvette Cooper is now saying that she really believes that Palestine should be governed Palestinians. This is a woman, I believe she's a woman, this is a person that has taken money off the fiends of Israel, like her husband, who is now in this media empire of lies and deceit. And they too, they go together with the narrative in the North of Ireland, which at this moment, as you know, Jeffrey Donaldson, Lord and Lady Donaldson, are being done for child sex offences. Now, this is not a smoke screen. That man who did
stop. They're on trial. They're on trial, Terence, and they're entitled to a fair trial. So we shouldn't say anything that prejudices their trial. Go ahead.
And last point of all, 37 years ago today, Finucane was murdered in front of his children. Now, the official investigation is going to begin. May God keep the Finucane family at this time, and may God bless all of Ireland, any colour, creed or nationality, so say the Irish people everywhere.
Amen. Amen, amen, amen. Patrick Finucane and I go back a long way. He was a fine Irish lawyer with a young family in front of whom he was cruelly murdered at the kitchen table by a loyalist murderer with the collusion of the British state that can no longer be gainsaid. And his death warrant was pronounced by a statement made in my presence by Quentin Hogg's son, Douglas Hogg, now Lord Hailsham, in a committee meeting in the upper committee room corridor of the House of Commons, when in front of my eyes across the tables, Hogg made a public statement that some lawyers in Ireland, in the north, were rather too close to their clients. And I accused them in a chest-to-chest altercation afterwards of having passed a death warrant on solicitors working in the north of Ireland, as it was their duty so to do. We had to be separated by the clerks and by the Sergeant at Arms office. And a few weeks later, Patrick Finucane was murdered and his good wife wounded by armed gunmen who broke into their house, a house they were given the address of by the British state. Terence, thank you for that. Now, the podcast, you can download it by scanning the QR code on your screen now. You can also listen to it, of course, at moat.tv, as many people do. When you've listened, please leave a review, give it a good rating. This week, the podcast is in the top 10 for politics in Panama, Kyrgyzstan, Egypt, Kenya, and the UAE. How about that? And in the top 30 for politics in Bulgaria, Malaysia, New Zealand, and Thailand. Let's go to Florida, where Maurice wants to talk about the Iran war in Orlando. Go ahead, Maurice.
That is what I have to say about the FIFA's involvement in the Iranian citizens' monies. FIFA is an outdated business model. All FIFA is good for is just basically money laundering. And I'll hand it over to you.
Well, that's strong stuff. Corruption in FIFA is a well-worn path, of course. We thought that Blatter could not be trumped on the issue of corruption, but we discovered that corruption was endemic, including very iconic figures. The head of UEFA, for example. But we never thought that we'd ever think fondly of the era of Sepp Blatter. We never thought we'd ever think, never mind say, come back, Sepp Blatter, all is forgiven. Now, tomorrow at 8 o'clock, the Workers' Party presents Women's Health Matters on Zoom. Mary Whitby leads a live discussion on the health issues affecting women and why they deserve greater attention. There's a QR code on your screen now. It looks a wonderful lineup, and you can refer back to, you can scan it now to join. That's Women's Health Matters, tomorrow, Thursday at 8 o'clock on Zoom. Now, we've got a big by-election coming up in the Moorside ward of Bury, and I've got a call from Bury in Greater Manchester, where Peter wants to talk about FIFA. Peter, welcome.
Oh, God bless you, George. I'm phoning from a lovely sunny night evening in Bury here, and I know that wherever
Excellent.
you will be with your wife, she will be so sunny for you, and whatever you do in your children.
She's my sunshine.
Exactly.
She's my sunshine, but I've got to tell you, where I am now, it's baking hot also. Every time there's a break, my wife comes in with a towel and mops my bald head because the sweat is running down my eyes. Anyway, sorry, Peter, go ahead.
I have a bald head too, so I know what you mean. But yeah, I told you one of your researchers earlier when I phoned in. When I saw the question, will Trump invade Cuba? Oh my God! I got this flash of intuition, psychic intuition, if you want to call it that, of a mass of military action facing from South America, ready to support Cuba. This is what I saw. I did see the overthrow of Milei, the president of Argentina, as well as the a military coup in Mexico. Whether that will ever happen or not, but it's happened before, I know that. So that was amazing. I saw that, and I just wanted to phone in and explain that. I do feel
it's quite a vision. It's quite a vision, a mixed vision. Some good, some bad. Anyway, go ahead.
I've spoken to you before about Israel, and I think it's well overdue. That I did say nearly about 18 months ago that I did see the. See, the thing is about spiritual thing. There's no time in it, so it's just like it will happen when it happens. And I did see a world map with no flag of Israel on it, and I thought, oh, there you go, that's meant to happen. Israel is the last to fall of the spirit, because it's a satanic country. It's a satanic-led country. The people are not all satanic; they're easily led. I feel the Zionists have really got the foot in there. The Khazanars and the Akazars have got the foot in. So, but I feel that we'll start to see a revolt in Israel. They've had enough with Netanyahu. Ben Gvir will fall. Moderates will go, and the president. He's just I can't believe a president's so evil as he is. But because at the end of the day, what we're seeing with the worst of when they're killing the women and children, we're seeing exactly what happened in the days of Jesus Christ. When the day of Epiphany, when he was told he had to leave. Well, he wasn't told, his parents was, because it was a King Herod. Kill any boy under the age of 2. And I feel the same situation is happening and has happened in Palestine because they don't want the rising up of future terrorists. I'm afraid if you're going to do that, people will remember this. And it's a shame that this happens that way, but that is what I saw, again, the King Herod situation. Now, also, what I do think
King Herod had nothing on Benjamin Netanyahu. He's killed a lot more of the firstborn, the secondborn, the thirdborn, the parents of, the aunts and uncles, grandparents of, than Herod ever dreamt of. Thanks for that, Peter, in Berry. Mahmoud is in Canada, and he wants to talk about the World Cup too, because, of course, Canada is a co-host. Go ahead, Mahmoud.
Hello, George, and a big and a sincere thank you to you and to your great team for helping to set the record straight when and where it matters, sir. And
thank you, sir.
A quick word, if I may, on... You're welcome, sir. And a quick word on the politicization of the World Cup and the effect on anti-American sentiment. And I say this with a great appreciation and respect for our southerly neighbors. But it's a fact that many American travelers, as they travel around the world, they would either wear a cap or a T-shirt or carry a backpack depicting the Canadian maple leaf. And when they ask directly, they say they're Canadians. And this is in order to circumvent anti-American sentiment. Now, to politicize a major sporting event like the World Cup, to interweave political agenda and vendetta does not help improve pro-American sentiment. Granted, there is a monumental task to keep everybody safe and secure, but shouldn't this 4-yearly Mondial be a chance for us to celebrate a great aspect of humanity and for America to showcase its greatness and to top the phenomenal job that Qatar did in the last World Cup?
They'll never do that. Mahmoud, I'm old enough to remember when American citizens pretended to be Canadians, but I don't want to hurt your feelings. But over recent decades, it's been just as unpopular to be a Canadian as it is to be an American, because the governments, successive governments, right and so-called liberal, of Canada, have been guilty of exactly the same crimes as the American government is. And the Canadian government is up to its neck in the crimes of Israel, in the crimes being carried out by the regime in Kiev, where the Mark Carney has just handed over yet another gigantic wad of your money, which your country can ill afford, and is now having, for many years before, had a very close relationship with Cuba, I don't want to go too deeply into that matter, but once upon a time, Canadian premiers, or at least their wives, were extremely close with Cuba. But Canada has betrayed Cuba and is now a part of the siege of the country. So I'd pretend, I don't know, if I was an American, I wouldn't pretend at all. I'd say I'm an American and I oppose the policies of my country. Nick is in Los Angeles. He wants to talk about Pope Leo, who is the finest and greatest American in the world. Pope Leo, that is, not Nick. At least I don't know that yet. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, George. Good to speak to you again. I'm calling to eat humble pie, George. I did call you when Pope Leo was elected, and thought it might be a bad signal for the church, for the Catholic Church around the world, that maybe an American being Pope was not a good thing. And I have to say, I've got him completely wrong, and I'm so glad that he's been great. Yeah, and as you may have seen in the last 24, 48 hours, as Israeli settlers continue to burn people out of their homes in various parts of land, I just got a buzz from an organization called the Catholic Worker Movement here in America, who follows the works of Dorothy Day. But even Catholics are being attacked, the churches are being attacked, and obviously Christians in that region have a history of being attacked. So thank God for Pope Leo. Hopefully he will continue to push change within the American Catholic Church. Yep.
God bless the Pope. Thank you, Nick, for that mea culpa, richly deserved but nobly given. Pope Leo has done a wonderful job and is carrying on the traditions, the best ones, of the late Pope Francis. May God rest his soul. Let me close the poll. About 3/4 of you think that Trump will invade Cuba next. I would have voted no myself. I don't think that Trump possesses the capability of invading Cuba, and if he does, the entire country will become a sea of fire. Now, it's undoubtedly the case that the somber period that we have now lived through on the Persian Gulf front for so long. I mean, I was hoping that we could discontinue the war sting on the show. I thought that peace was breaking out. It's undoubtedly the case that we are now locked into a major war situation, and on many fronts. And it's undoubtedly the case, as I put it in my monologue, that the Americans have declared war on the world. They are at war throughout the world. They are either kinetically, physically, in fire and hot lead at war in some parts of the world. They are engaged in international piracy on the high seas. They are murdering people who they don't even know the identity of in boats in the Caribbean. They are looting Venezuela, having kidnapped the elected president, recognized president of the country. They are sowing fascism in Peru, in Colombia. They are seeking to reverse all of the gains of progressive people in Latin America. They are deeply involved, whatever they say, in the NATO invasion of Ukraine. They are responsible for the genocide in Palestine and in Lebanon, and now they have launched yet another war in Iran. So I'm afraid you're going to have to keep tuning in to the mother of all talk shows, because this ain't going away. I wish we could discuss existential things, great questions of philosophy, the meaning of life. I wish we could discuss culture. I wish we could discuss movies, which we haven't had the chance to discuss for many a year now. But we are, I'm afraid, in an era of permanent war. The Americans are at war with the world. But it's time for the woman without whom the news wouldn't be the news. Here's Gayatri. What's rattling, Gayatri?
Gwyneth Paltrow. You may remember her, the once very famed and adored Hollywood artist, is in the midst of a controversy because she has become the face of the 51 Park Project. What is the 51 Park Project? It's a luxury residence project in Israel. And yes, she has become the face of it. And she has experienced quite a backlash because while she's supported by the diminishing amount of Zionists in the US, of course more and more have come to see the truth of the matter, in which a conservative number of 73,000 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since October 2023. And there she is. Many more Hollywood artists are now starting to speak up in defense of Palestine, and there she goes, running in her joggers along this residential park. And she's doing this on the day that Dr. Abu Hussam Safiya, the famous doctor from the hospital in North Gaza, appeared in court from his cell today to appeal against the extension of his detention they call it. I mean, it's just criminal. He was taken from the hospital on the 27th of December 2024, and he has been 500 days onwards without any formal charges, and recently they moved him into solitary confinement, and everybody can see the images, his first public appearance for more than a year, in which he has lost half his weight. He is visibly he has shown visible marks of torture, no medical provision to this doctor. And you know what his crime was? His crime was to keep his hospital running throughout an 80-day siege and not abandon his patients. This was his crime.
She must be proud of herself. To coin a phrase, she has consciously uncoupled from morality. She is a disgrace to the profession.
Yeah.
She's a disgrace to womanhood. She's a disgrace even to a Hollywood which is on the turn on this question. She is the face of a $10 million apartment per apartment complex in Herzliya in Israel, and she has no shame.
No shame.
And she's a very rich woman. How rich do you need to be, Gwyneth? You have sold your soul for, I don't know what you got. How much? When will you get it? How much will it be?
Mm-hmm.
How quickly will you spend it? Does it matter to you that you are now cursed by the departed, slain by the state that you are shilling for? You are now cursed by their dependents. You are now cursed by all the good people all over the world that are deeply shocked and scandalized by your appearance in these advertisements today. I don't know what the guy you consciously uncoupled from in Coldplay, I forget his name, if I ever knew it, I don't know what he thinks of it, but I like to think he'll be embarrassed, because as I understand it, he at least has expressed support for the Palestinian people. I don't know what your children think about it, or what they will think about it when they're old enough to know about it. I hope it was worth it, Gwyneth, but I doubt that it was. Now, Abu Safia, Gayatri, it's good that you brought him up. He appeared in court today. There was a group of activists at the British Medical Association in conference today to try and force the plight of Abu Safia onto the agenda of the BMA, which was, of course, stoutly resisted by those who want to keep politics out of the British Medical Association. Here is a man who kept his hospital running during a siege in a genocide, and you can't find a moment to discuss him on your conference agenda. So I take my hat off to those who tried. There are many good doctors in Britain, some of whom we know well,
have been on the show,
are keenly, even bitterly aware of the disaster in Gaza, the disaster in Palestine as a whole. But the medical profession as a whole and the professional associations, the Royal Colleges, I mean, Abu Safia is a famed, globally famed surgeon. Could the Royal College of Surgeons not have found it within themselves to say a word about what's happened to him, taken prisoner from his hospital and kept in a dungeon, tortured and starved? What kind of Hippocratic oath was it that you people actually signed? I really don't know what to say about that. Well, that's all from us. We'll be with you again, God willing, in a few days' time. God knows the world that we will have by then. It's been marvelous for me and for Gayatri, from all of us in our family who are mainly the staff and the remaining non-Galloways who've brought you this show this evening. It's been marvelous. See you. Bye.
It's the mother of all talk shows. It's the mother of all talk shows. It's the mother of all talk shows.
Go get 'em, George.